When collecting primary data, either by a survey or by direct observation, there is usually a certain group of individuals who are of interest in the study. For instance, often the Canadian government likes to determine the opinion or relevant demographic information of all Canadian citizens. Some specific interest groups may wish to determine information about all people who belong to a certain religion, such as Roman Catholics, Orthodox, Protestant denominations, Jewish, Muslim, Hindus, Buddhists, or Sikhs. Businesses may wish to find out more information about their own consumers or the consumers who frequent the businesses of competitors. Perhaps the administration at a school wishes to find out information about all the students at their school. Or the school board may wish to determine the opinions of all the parents of students in their school board. In each case, the particular group of interest being studied is called the population. In a census, information about all of the members of a population is collected. Often, this is very time-consuming and expensive, so information from a smaller sample of the population is collected. Since the people who are collecting this information wish to draw conclusions about the entire population, they must choose a sample that reflects the entire population. There are several ways this can be achieved. Simple random sampling. When applying the method of simple random sampling to choose individuals to observe or to collect information about, each member is assigned a unique number and a random number generator is used to select individuals to be observed. Alternatively, all the students' names could be put in a basket or another container and then drawn one at a time. In this scenario, 20% of the population will be sampled. If there are 100 students, information from 20 different students will be collected. Systematic random sampling. When applying the method of systematic random sampling to choose individuals for collecting information, usually the entire population is put into a specific order, such as alphabetically by last name. In this scenario, 20% of the population will be sampled. Since there are 100 students, information from 20 different students will be collected. To find the interval size, take the number of individuals in the population, 100, and divide by the number of individuals being sampled, 20. Each interval will contain 5 students. This produces 20 intervals or groups, each with 5 students. In the first interval, a student is picked randomly. From this position, every 5th student is chosen. This method of sampling simplifies the process of picking individuals randomly and is often used with very large population sizes and where an ordered list is available. Often, individuals picked for surveys by phone are chosen this way because a telephone book can be used to pick the individuals by random. Stratified random sampling. When applying the method of stratified random sampling to choose individuals for collecting information, the entire population is put into different categories, called strata. Some ways the individuals in a population can be grouped are by gender, by language spoken at home, or by age group or grade level. Once the individuals are placed into these strata, a simple random sample within each stratum is used. If 20% of the students will be sampled, then 20% of each stratum is sampled. This method is particularly important when different groups exist in a certain population who are likely to have different characteristics or provide different information. As a result, your sample will have exactly the correct representation of these groups in the sample rather than allowing random chance to produce approximately the same representation. Cluster random sampling. When applying the method of cluster random sampling to choose individuals for collecting information, again, a convenient way of organizing the population into different groups is necessary. Perhaps in a school situation, the groups may be in different homerooms. If 25% of the population is to be sampled, it would make sense to choose 25% of the classrooms in the school. Since there are 8 homerooms, this would be 2 different homerooms. 2 different homerooms would be chosen randomly, and information from all the individuals in each homeroom must be collected. In this case, we would ensure that information from one junior class, grade 9 or 10, and from one senior class, grade 11 or 12, is collected, but these are still done randomly. Multi-stage random sampling. When applying the method of multi-stage random sampling to choose individuals for collecting information, a combination of sampling techniques in several stages is used to sample the population. Again, the schools could be sorted by homeroom. One homeroom from each grade could be chosen at random. Within each homeroom, 25% of the boys and 25% of the girls could be chosen at random. In this example, the homerooms were first organized by grade level, which represents stratified sampling. Each homeroom represents a cluster, and 50% of the clusters were sampled. Finally, a stratified sample using gender as the strata was employed, where 25% of the individuals were sampled at each strata. Combining the 3 sampling methods, approximately 12.5% of the population was sampled. Since some classes may be larger than others, the actual percentage of the population that was sampled may have been slightly different. 12 students were chosen from 100 students in the population. Therefore, 12% of the population was sampled. Voluntary response sampling. When applying the method of voluntary response sampling to choose individuals for collecting information, the members of the population are invited to respond to a survey, and no effort for a random sampling is made. Only people who are motivated by the reward will fill out this survey. People who are watching this talk show, who have a computer and internet access, and who feel strongly about this issue will fill out this survey. People who are shopping at this store, who have access to a computer and the internet, and who are motivated by the reward of being put into a draw will fill out this survey. Though this method provides some useful information, the information collected in no way represents the opinions of the entire population. This method of collecting information is of limited statistical value, and yet it is a very popular way of surveying people for the purpose of reporting the results. Convenience sampling. When applying the method of convenience sampling to choose individuals for collecting information, the members of the population are selected simply because they are easily accessible. Again, no effort to choose these individuals randomly has been made. Surveying people by this method does provide useful information. However, the data collected by this method will likely not represent the school population. In the sociology project, this may be a suitable method if the population was the students' friends and not the entire school population. Despite this, it is a good place to start and may allow the researcher to test out their survey questions, improve on them, and see if there are any questions that need to be reworded for clarity, or if some questions should be added or removed. Review. There are several methods that can be used to sample populations. Let's review what we have learned so far. Simple random sample. Where a certain percentage of the entire population is sampled and they are chosen at random using a random number generator or drawn from a pool of all the individuals. Systematic random sample. Where the population is ordered in a certain manner, and if 20% of the population is being sampled, every fifth person on the list will be chosen. Stratified random sample. Where the population is grouped into different strata based on a specific characteristic, for example by gender or age, and each stratum is randomly sampled. Cluster random sample. Where the population is already grouped in a convenient manner, for example by classroom, subdivision, city, or some other cluster, and each cluster tends to reflect the entire population. A certain number of clusters are chosen at random, and information about all the members of that cluster is collected. Multi-stage random sample. Where several different levels and sampling techniques are used to achieve a random sample. For example, a random sample of the schools within a school board are chosen, then a random sample of the classes are chosen, and then 10% of the boys and 10% of the girls are chosen. Voluntary response sample. Where the researcher invites people to respond to their survey or poll. This usually results in very polarized or one-sided responses made by people who have extreme views. Convenience sample. Where the people are chosen because they are easily accessible and not because they necessarily represent the entire population.